We begin with today's final farewell to Waltham police officer Paul Tracey. Today was the funeral for the officer killed while working detail at a work site in his hometown of Waltham last week.
The show of support was staggering. A sea of law enforcement marched through the streets of Waltham, coming out to pay their respects to the 28-year veteran of the force. Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Corey Smith.
I'm JC Monahan. Officer Tracey was born in Waltham, went to high school in Waltham. He graduated from Bentley University in Waltham. And of course, he served the community of Waltham. It's only fitting that his funeral procession this morning filed through the streets that he spent his whole life on.
He was also eulogized by his family in an emotional funeral mass. NBC 10's John Maroney was there and has much more from the service. John?
Corey, Paul Tracey's brother says he will never be forgotten. Given the way his life was celebrated today, he might be right.
He's an officer in Waltham. He deserves a lot of respect.
One last ride through Waltham. Father, husband, and police officer. Paul Tracey died in the line of duty last week, serving the people and the city he loved.
Real friendly, always have a smile on his face.
Hundreds of law enforcement lined Trapella Road in front of Our Lady, Comforter of the Afflicted, as the procession for the 58-year-old arrived this morning. The pews were packed inside, with family, friends, and police officers from around the state and country.
Having become perfect in a short while, they reached the fullness of a long career.
Danica Tracey offered the first reading at her father's funeral service. Our Lady's was an important part of his life, having been baptized, married, and grown up not far from the Catholic Church.
He was a man who lived his life as he saw it. Firstly, as a family man. Secondly, as a police officer.
There was a large screen in the parking lot for the overflow crowd. It seems as though everybody in Waltham has a story about Paul Tracey. That's especially true for his brothers.
Paul was never shy with words, but if he was here to see this turnout today, for the first time in his life, he would be speechless.
His brother Jimmy, flanked by brothers Jerry and Michael, eulogized his sibling as a fun-loving, larger-than-life personality who loved his two kids and wife above all else.
He will no longer be with us, but he will live in our hearts forever, and Paul will never be forgotten.
His body was taken from Our Lady's, making its way past police headquarters one last time.
It hit the community hard, very, very hard.
Paul Tracey was laid to rest this afternoon at Mount Peak Cemetery. We're live in Waltham. John Maroney, NBC 10 Boston.